Matt from MTNGear here, doing a bit of a video on selecting optics and things to consider, and yeah, just sort of breaking down a little bit of the, I guess, science behind objective size and all that stuff. And it's just good stuff to consider for, trying to decide what's most effective. Obviously if you're carrying the weight, you want it to be as effective as possible. Now, focusing on spotting scopes, partly because I'm looking at possibly some point in the future upgrading mine. I've got a Razor, Vortex Razor 85. This is it here. It's been great, had it for ages, it's awesome. It was the best I could afford at the time. Still, not that cheap, but half the price of the high-end stuff. So it would be nice to upgrade. Obviously, it's a long process, one just deciding what you want, and then, probably another 6 months saving, getting over the sticker shock of the cost of some of these items. And so, yeah, just looking at all the options and kind of comparing them, the numbers really. And this is something I kind of came across when buying my binos a while ago. I wanted a pair of range-finding binos, so went with kind of like the Zeiss ones, just personal preference really, how they connected. The app's a pain in the ass, but the hardware itself's awesome. All going well, connects to your phone, updated on the spot anywhere. And I actually went with the 8x54s. Sure, it would be nice to have the 42s, I think they are, 42s. But, when I looked at the numbers, the thing is, they just let in so much more light, and, don't really weigh that much more, a little bit more bulky. But when you look at the numbers, it's really hard to justify the smaller objective. So I've got a spreadsheet here, put in all the numbers, and we'll go through those. Now, obviously, objective size and weight are kind of a few things to consider. One thing is just the quality of the optic. That's partly glass, partly how they operate internally. That's just, kind of outside my area of expertise. I guess it's widely accepted that, Swaro, Zeiss are just by far the best, probably in spotting scopes. Chuck and Leica there with binos, they're all just as good, personal preference really. Maybe outside of this new Swaro NL Pures, it doesn't seem like any other brand's got anything to match those, but and then you've got a bunch of sort of the top quality of the mid-tier optics. I've also included those. Obviously, the Vortex Razor is exactly that. Great value for money, but if you want that last sort of 10% in performance, you pretty much have to double your cost. And that's the same for everything, pretty much. Rifles, cars, whatever. So it's all part of it. And obviously you can make up a little bit for lesser quality glass with things like objective size. That's one thing I have noticed with a friend. He's got a 65mm ATS spotter, and while I think no one will dispute that even ATS Swaro glass is by far better than Vortex Razor, still often during the middle of the day and stuff, it's I find it easier to just get a bit more clarity with the bigger objective on the Razor. I guess you're not, you're taking in more area, you're not zooming in quite as much through the objective size. So yeah, can help, but obviously if you're comparing ATX 85 to Razor 85, there's just not really, you can't really compare them. But yeah, one thing to consider. So I will now switch around to the spreadsheet and sort of run through the numbers. And here is the spreadsheet with all the numbers of the spotting scopes I've looked at. Everything's based off this 65 ATX. Reason for that is it's the only top of the line spotting scope in 65. Zeiss or Leica don't have one. Maybe Leica used to, couldn't find it. So I've pulled numbers off websites wherever I could find them. Some are extremely difficult to find or interpret as to whether it included eyepieces or not. Leica, Koa, particularly. Obviously, some are given just as a total unit, or some like the Swara ATX is eyepiece and objective piece, different numbers, and that's why these are added up here. So basically what I've done is compared the weight of every spotting scope to the 65. You can see here the 115mm objective Swaro ATX is 1.84 times the weight of the 65. And then you doing a few simple calculations, calculated the area. These figures are millimeters squared, not that it really matters, but I've done the same as the weight. So here, this 115 Swaro ATX is 3.13 times the objective area of the 65. Basically, that means it's taking in over 3 times the amount of light, which is really the key figure here. And then this number here is where I have just compared everything and given it basically a weight to light ratio, or weight to objective area ratio. So the bigger this number here, the better value you're really getting out of your scope in terms of weight, in terms of light gathering potential to weight. Now, obviously, light gathering potential is dependent on other things like glass quality, internal mechanisms, all that. Out of my league in terms of knowledge base. So I guess you got to take this number with a grain of salt in that you're comparing like for like. Got ATS here. My understanding is it's less quality glass. It is lighter though, which then boosts these numbers again. So yeah, can't necessarily compare them against the Swaro ATX if in fact the glass isn't as good quality. I would like to think the top of the range Zeiss is pretty comparable to the top of range Swaro, and here you'll notice in particular my conclusion here is a 95 is quite good, got quite good characteristics. Slightly lighter weight than the Swaro 95. Obviously 95 versus 95, same light gathering ability. So this number here is slightly higher than this number here. And so outside of this massive objective lens, this here has got the highest light gathering to weight ratio value. Because this Zeiss seemed to be sort of the pick of the bunch, I did a straight comparison of the 95 versus the Zeiss 85, and this just kind of confirmed to me that it's kind of dumb to take the 85 because it's only a 7% increase in weight to the 95, but a 25% increase in light gathering ability. So given most of my glassing is first thing or in the evening, low light, or at long distances, it's easy to justify carrying that under 150 grams more. Leica, same weight as the 85 Zeiss, but less light gathering ability based on area, so kind of rules that out. Put in a bunch of other sort of mid range spotting scopes, and then Koa. The thing about the Koa is they seem to be quite better quality than these mid-range ones. The one thing I've really noticed is they're incredibly lightweight for what they are. So this 88 mil one here, it's lighter than the 80x65, but 1.8 times the light gathering ability. So this ratio here, this is by far the best optic based on this metric. Now, is the glass quality as good? Possibly not. I've seen on Rock Slide though that they said it was comparable, if not possibly got less chromatic abbreviations or whatever words they used than the 85 ATX. Now maybe that is because it's slightly bigger, so takes in a bit more light, so you get a bit more quality that way. Don't know. Almost seemed to say it was better quality towards the edge of the lens than the Swaro. So, but based on weight, I don't see why you would buy the 65 ATX when you could get this much bigger scope for slightly less weight. And I would say any the bigger lens is more than going to make up for possibly less quality, possibly not. Jump down to these other ones, sort of mid-tier or top of the lower quality brands. They just don't have quite these same weight to light gathering ratios, and then throw in the fact that the glass is not going to be as good, compared to the top of the line ones. What's interesting here is on this ratio, this Vortex Razor 85 is probably the pick of the bunch. More so than the Maven. Definitely picks up a lot more light, only a tad more weight. So yeah, probably. Again, I don't know how the glass compares between the two. I'd say pretty similar. It's probably personal preference. The Leopold's a bit lighter, and obviously a lot of this just depends on your price point. And like I said, I had previously bought this one just because it was the best I could afford at the time, and I had been super happy with it. So yeah, I guess the takeaways from that is the bigger you go, the more the better, just in terms of light gathering ability, your scope is. Obviously, you got to justify carrying that extra weight, but the weight that you carry is gonna perform a lot better going bigger across the board. So yeah, if there's anything else you'd want me to add in, any questions, you think my numbers are wrong, obviously I'm trying to pull these numbers off websites. A lot of companies are terrible at giving figures. I know La Sportiva they make great boots, but they somehow can't then put the boots on a set of scales and give accurate figures. So I don't know, maybe these numbers are not quite correct. I've tried to do angled spotting scopes just because I guess the Zeiss were angled. I prefer straight. Zeiss didn't come in a straight, so tried to keep everything like for like because they do vary a bit. Yeah, any questions, any comments, want a bit more information, feel free to hit me up. Cheers.